What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron. Now, before we even get into anything fantasy football related, I want to get something out of the way. I wore a Texas A&M crew neck on Monday's video. I wore a Michigan one yesterday. I'm wearing a Murray State one today. Here's the fact of the matter. There's a spot by me in my neighborhood in Jersey that sells cheap hoodies from colleges. So I'm not a Michigan fan. I'm not a Texas A&M fan. If anything, I guess I'd be like a Seton Hall, Rutgers fan. Not just down to rep anything from Jersey in terms of colleges. But no, I am not. I see comments, oh, he's a Texas A&M fan. Let's go blue with Michigan. I just don't want to lead off like I'm a bandwagon or, that you think that I'm a fan of your team. I just have pretty much every college hoodie out there. I have like an Alabama one, an Ole Miss one. Today we're rocking Murray State. Shout out John Morant. Now, let's talk about some fantasy football here. We're going to get into our top trade targets, our top 5 trade targets for week 7 of the fantasy football season. Now, this is going to be a really weird week, kind of a wonky week where there are 6 teams on bye. It's the bye-mageddon, the bye-apocalypse, whatever you want to call it. So there's like a limited supply of players, and there's going to be interesting spots where you're going to have a team in your league that's maybe like 2-4, 1-5, backs against the wall, 4 players on bye, and they really have nothing else. They have no other choice but to just, auction off their players on bye just to kind of steal a win. So we have some interesting spots here to cover. Now, with that being said, let's go. Let me pull it up first.
Thirsty, trying to choose. I know I'm critical. My nitty bag.
All right. Now, before we get into this, make sure you go down below, subscribe, leave a like. We put out daily fantasy football content for you guys. Now, I will say this week is going to be a little bit different. I think I'll probably miss a Saturday upload because we have 6 teams on bye. I think I'm going to take week 7, where I'm going to still give you guys, a video Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Probably take the video Saturday off, still do the live stream for the patrons on Sunday. But this just feels like a good week to, kind of take 1 or 2 days off, take a step back, little mental health break. Then we come back around. I probably will go grind hard to the pedal up until Thanksgiving. Maybe Thanksgiving weekend I'll take a little bit off, but it's been a grind, fellas. All right, it's a little bit overwhelming. I'm only 20. I'm out here doing this pretty much full time without actually getting paid full time yet. So it has been a lot. Sometimes I just want to, is it crazy to say that sometimes I just want to sit back, watch some college football, play some video games, hang out with friends and shit? But not to say I don't do all that. I just mean, have, a little bit more free time this week. Now, enough about me, essentially. Let's talk about our first buy target, my must buy here, and that's Laviska Shenault. And the theme of these buys for this week, now I think that my glasses are all fogged up. Maybe I'll clean them in a second here. But the theme of this week is, to profit off of the bye-apocalypse, right? 6 teams on bye. I can't name them all off the top of my head, but I think it's Jaguars, Cowboys, Vikings. A lot of teams are on bye. Chargers, and then probably and Dolphins as well. So with that being said, we're gonna have spots where you're gonna have teams that are 2-4, 1-5 that need to auction off these players. And I think Laviska Shenault's a really good buy low candidate. He's the wide receiver 47 to this point. And I'm not sure many owners want to keep him that bad, but I still have hope. Laviska Shenault was a big guy for me coming out, in the offseason. I liked him a lot as a prospect. He hasn't really panned out, but things are starting to kind of come around because we were hoping that he would, establish himself as an outside receiver, as an alpha. Now that came at the expense of DJ Chark. He still isn't really dominating on the outside, but he saw 9 targets this week on a 25.7% target share. As we know, targets are earned, not given. And I said this in my top 10 lessons learned video, but Urban Meyer kind of showed us that it was a 1-game sample, but he at least showed us some hope that he now cares about giving his playmakers the ball. He gave James Robinson 20 out of 20 touches in that running back backfield. No more touches to Carlos Hyde. He gave the most snaps and the most targets to Laviska Shenault and Marvin Jones, whereas last week, the week before, so week 5, maybe that was a Thursday night game against the Bengals. I cannot remember, but in that game, Jamal Agnew out-snapped Laviska Shenault, and Jamal Agnew, Dan Arnold, and Tavon Austin all had more targets than both Marvin Jones and Laviska Shenault. So now he's kind of, coming around to things. He gets his first win when he puts his playmakers on the field. Now, he didn't convert much out of these 9 targets. He didn't really have a big week, but, that's why we're buying here. Production didn't happen, but the volume was there. He saw some drops. He saw some inaccurate throws from Trevor Lawrence, but there's signs that are pointing up for him. where you can now buy him cheap, right? And we're talking like Laviska Shenault might even be on waivers in your league, but I don't mind a deal where, you go grab, you sell like an Ezekiel Elliott for like Jonathan Taylor and a Laviska Shenault. Like, I would try and do like a swap of, some headliners and then maybe like throw Laviska Shenault in to, kind of match the difference, if you will. Now, you can even do a waiver fill-in during the bye, right? So let's say that there's a guy out there that needs a flex really bad. He has Laviska Shenault on bye. Maybe you give him Tim Patrick for Laviska Shenault. Now, Tim Patrick in the near term might be better than Laviska Shenault, but we also have, the Broncos bringing back Jerry Jeudy very soon, so Tim Patrick could be, maybe more short-term than long-term, whereas Laviska Shenault is more of a long-term play. Then we have another wide receiver. Another one that's going to be on bye this week is Chase Claypool, right? So he's a guy that I'm buying again, right? So last week I talked about him maybe in every single video, and I still do love Chase Claypool as a buy because last week he only had 2 catches for 17 yards, right? So we're now getting another dip. He's now getting on bye, which is great, right? Because he had some kind of hamstring injury. So now he's going to have a week to heal from that. And the bright side is that he saw 7 targets and was out there in the majority of the 2 wide receiver sets. And my guy, Jacob Sanderson, he summed this up really well. Pretty much my resident Chase Claypool truther on Twitter. He's a great follow. And he pretty much sums up that in the 3 games without Juju or Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool has assumed this role as the number 2 wide receiver where he's out there in 2 wide receiver sets, which is huge, right? Because when Juju was there, Juju was out there for 2 wide receiver sets, and Claypool would still see a lot of really good efficiency on a per route basis, but he wasn't getting a full route participation because the Steelers, when they come out, 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, and 2 wide receivers, or just any set with 2 wide receivers, a lot of the times that'd be Juju out there and not Claypool, so Claypool would miss out on those routes, and that would bring his targets down. But if you give him a full meal, a full, share of the routes, his target share is going to be great. His fantasy production is also going to be great. And in those games, he has seen a 26.7% target share, 28 targets, 16 catches, 241 yards, and a touchdown. So I think he's going to be fine. He's played great in those games. He had an off week, but again, he was hurt. He saw the full route participation that we know that we're expecting of him, and now he's going to be on bye, so he's going to get, another week or 2 to kind of heal up that hamstring injury, and he should be good to go. Now, a bonus buy I wanted to throw in. I don't really have any notes or anything, but I love Dallas Goedert as a buy. Now, I will say he's going to be a tough buy because I think that pretty much everyone's aware of the Zach Ertz trade and what that's going to do for Dallas Goedert. But Goedert is now, I don't want to overreact here, but with Zach Ertz gone, Dallas Goedert is now flirting with that, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson. He's kind of somewhere between that and Noah Fant for me personally. He was a really, really strong prospect. He has looked really good on the Eagles on a per route basis. It's just the matter of the fact that he was splitting time with Zach Ertz. Now that he's pretty much freed at this point, to me, he is in a similar boat as a guy like Noah Fant. And I don't mind if you can sell Noah Fant for like Dallas Goedert plus, right? Because Noah Fant's been great, but we have to remember Noah Fant has really benefited from Jeudy being gone and Albert O being gone. So once Albert O comes back, once Jerry Jeudy comes back, I see Noah Fant kind of, reverting back to himself. Still is like a fringe, top 6 to, 10 type play, but I think that Dallas Goedert is going to give you similar production, and if you can get, profit on top of that, I would take that every time. Goedert, like I said, really, really good prospect. He's been extremely skilled. He was great in fantasy last year. With Ertz gone, I'm actually really excited to see what he does now. And that's going to bring us to, this is a weird section that I have labeled as do not buy. I would label this as a sell, right? So Christian McCaffrey, not exactly a sell though. Let me kind of explain myself with Christian McCaffrey here. The big takeaway I want you guys to take from this is I'm not big on acquiring injured players. I think the popular take out there is going to be, if you're a 6-0 team, maybe go try and buy low on a McCaffrey or an Antonio Gibson or a Nick Chubb or a Kareem Hunt. Look, the simple idea that this comes down to is I don't want that mustard on my shirt. I don't want that bad blood. Don't give me your injured players because, if you're 6-0, it's because your team has probably this year, this weird year with like all the injuries. If you're 6-0, if you're 5-1, it's probably because you don't have any injuries at this point. So like, don't go out there and riddle your roster with guys that are injured or injury prone because, these timelines aren't as concrete as we think. We just saw with Christian McCaffrey, he's just going to be out 1 to 2 weeks. It's whatever. Chuba Hubbard's like a 1 week rental. Nah, like he got a setback and now he's out now he's on IR. He's out for like 3 weeks. He could come back, they could lose out and then they shut him down for the rest of the season. There's like a million things that could go wrong. And instead of, getting a player on your team that is hurt, why not just ride out what you got and go undefeated? Right? Or not even undefeated, but just go out there. If you're in a spot where you are like 6-0, 5-1, just go get a bye, bro. Like I'm telling you, I think you have a better chance of winning a championship with just getting a bye, right, in that first week than getting a guy like Christian McCaffrey, because we don't know if he's going to return to that, high level. He could give you 2 games and then re-injure himself again. He's only played, I think, 6 games in the last 2 years. And on the flip side, if you're 2-4, if you're 1-5, go sell McCaffrey. You don't have the luxury to hold on to him. If you can do, McCaffrey for a Swift or a Jonathan Taylor, or, McCaffrey for even like James Robinson and James Robinson plus, I'm not saying go out there and sell McCaffrey low immediately. If you're 4-2, if you're 5-1, if you're 6-0, and you already have McCaffrey, you're holding. But if your back's against the wall, I don't think it's bad. If you can like really cash out on a McCaffrey. And I also haven't listed many tight ends or running backs on this list is because they're so depleted at this point, right? So their prices are sky high at this point. It's probably best to, like, if you have healthy players at running back or tight end, you should probably hold on to them, right? But like I said, if your back's against the wall, feel free to unload Gibson, McCaffrey, Hunt, Chubb. Obviously, you're not selling them for pennies, but if you can, go out there and swap them for, like I said, with like McCaffrey for like a low-end RB1, I'd probably do that most of the day. Like if I could do James Robinson or Darrell Henderson, obviously not straight up, like one of those guys plus a piece, I'd probably be into that. Now, another guy that's kind of like a headliner, like a McCaffrey, is a Deandre Hopkins. And he's a sell for me because I went over this yesterday, or not yesterday, but 2 days ago in the lessons learned video. And D-Hop has been great for fantasy. He's the wide receiver 13 in PPR, but his usage has been concerning, right? He is known for being a target hog, but this weekend he had 20.5 PPR points and only had a 14.3% target share on 4 targets. He was behind AJ Green and Christian Kirk in targets. He was tied with Rondale Moore. And JJ Zachariason brings up that was the 12th lowest single game target share of his career. He now has a 19.5% target share on the season after averaging about 29 to 32% target share in the last 3 seasons. So there's a lot to be had here, or a lot of concerns here in terms of volume, because Hop has always gotten there on just insane amount of volume, being a target hog, 30% target share guy. And that's not really there in this offense. And he's still producing, wide receiver 13 isn't really what you drafted at this point, but he still has that name value. Now, I hate bringing up the CBS trade value chart because I think it's kind of trash, but it's the only thing that's out by the time I write this, article, outline, whatever you want to call it. And they have D-Hop as their wide receiver 6 rest of season. Now, it's honestly hard to come up with names to put ahead of D-Hop, but if you can sell them at the wide receiver 6 price, I would do that all day. If you can do like D-Hop and a waiver wire running back like a Darrell Williams or Hubbard to a wide receiver needy team for, somebody like Jonathan Taylor or DeAndre Swift, I would do that all day. If you can, swap out D-Hop, maybe you can come down to like Deontay Johnson and like, this is all top of the head. So I don't know if it's actually that close, but D-Hop for like Deontay Johnson and maybe like a Darrell Henderson or James Robinson, you could maybe even go as low as like Leonard Fournette and Deontay Johnson. I think that would be a bit low for me. But yeah, if you can sell high on DeAndre Hopkins, if you can pretty much cash out at wide receiver 6, I'd probably do that all day. And that brings us to our last sell candidate of the day. And this was just from me kind of scrolling through the CBS trade value chart. He's currently the RB17 rest of season. And apparently, I'm not saying that he can in your league, but apparently he can be dealt straight up for DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Calvin Ridley, AJ Brown, or Mike Williams. Now, I'm not sure that can happen in your league, but if someone's struggling with buys, maybe they have Mike Williams on buy or Deontay Johnson on buy, maybe you go tap him on the shoulder real quick. I'll give you Cordarrelle Patterson. I'll give you Cordarrelle Patterson and Tim Patrick, something like that. And this isn't because I even hate Cordarrelle Patterson, but at the RB17 price, I think if you can sell him for a player that has more guaranteed volume and more stable production, I probably do that all day long. I don't really think it's that wise to sit on him. It is pretty crazy. I'm looking at his rankings right now. He's the RB12 in PPR. But there's just not enough volume for that to be super, super stable. That Wayne Gallman's also coming in. I just would rather, if I could cash out for one of those names that CBS listed that you could get them straight up for, I'd probably do that all day. Now, that is going to do it for us today, fellas. My rest of season rankings will be out on Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. That's going to do it. Now, as always, you can follow me at Ron Stewart _ on Twitter. I don't usually plug that, but you can also subscribe down below, leave a like. It helps us out a ton in the algorithm. I just bumped the mic on accident. Now, I think we're going to try something different this week. I think tomorrow and Friday, I think I'm going to do top 24 rankings videos for running backs and wide receivers, right? So separate ones, because we're in a spot at this point. We're just at a spot with this week where I'll probably go back to start sits. We'll see how those videos do. But with it's corny saying it, like the bye get-in or the bye apocalypse. But with 6 teams on bye, there's not a lot of starts. Like, you're probably just starting whoever isn't on bye or hurt on your team at this point. So we'll just do the rankings videos. But yeah, the plan is to bang out all the work for this week in the next couple of days. Take Friday off, relax, enjoy football. Spend some time with Winnie, my dog. I gotta get Winnie on camera more. A lot of the OG subscribers know about Winnie, are friendly with Winnie. Winnie's even like one of the pictures on my Patreon tiers, but I gotta bring Winnie back on camera one of these days. Now that's gonna do it for today. I think I said that like 3 times now. But there's NBA on tonight. I really wish that I came out with. I was honestly unaware of how fast the season started. Now I'm just kind of rambling, so. There's that, but I wish that I did a couple NBA best ball drafts, because I didn't get any in, and Underdog has NBA best ball drafts, so that would have been really fun. Now I don't have any NBA best ball teams, but that would have been fun to do. Maybe hop on here, live stream with you guys. If they do like a best ball resurrection, I promise we will do that. If there's a best ball resurrection, I will hop on here. I don't care if there's 3 of you guys in here. I honestly don't know what I'm doing when it comes to NBA best ball. You guys probably even know better than me, but I think that would be fun. So we'll see. If they come out with a resurrection, we will do that. Now, before I keep on going, I will see you guys in the next one.